Here I stand as a strong black man, having done all I can to please my fellow man. I don't understand why that knife is in your hand. After doing all I can as a strong black man, I'm gonna take my stand as a black man. I will do the best that I can as a black man. I stand on my own as a black man. I'm gonna sing my song.
Welcome back to our last and final episode of Black Man He'll Say How You Feel, Brother. And it has been such a pleasure doing this series with you, Jarel. I salute and respect everything that you have brought to this platform.
Thank you.
The workbook that you created. And again, you can go to the SOOAR website and you can download the Black Man He'll Say How You Feel workbook. And being open and candid during these conversations that we have had during the podcast and just everything that you have brought to the agency during this time. And I know that you will be great at whatever you decide to do because you are self-aware, because you have shown me that all of these things that we've talked about in these 6 episodes, you have explored yourself. So you're not talking about what you think, you're talking about what you know. And I just truly appreciate you opening up and sharing for other people because these conversations are not easy, but they're worth it. And I think more Black men should be able to open up and have these type of conversations to gain a better understanding of what is expected of them. So we have talked about everything, the role in the family, mental health, and all of that. So today we're going to talk about...
So first I just want to say, thank you. It's been a journey, and being someone who is an advocate for mental health, especially within the Black community, and focusing on Black men and masculinity spaces, I think that this was refreshing and this was helpful. And I know they will touch whomever it needs to touch, and they will receive it, and then they will hopefully, the hope and the plan is to reflect and grow from it and take what we have said in these conversations from a Black man's perspective and a Black woman's perspective, and grow and then go out there and be a better version of themselves. And also, to Valerie's point, like downloading the workbook, if you need additional or a starting place, I'll say that. A starting place to start your mental health journey. The workbook is something very simple and very easy to follow through, to begin the conversations of how you can better yourself and better your mental health. Because I feel like in order for you to be a well-rounded, healthy individual, your mind is the strongest thing. It needs to be. It also needs to be exercised and worked, not just your physical well-being, but your mental health well-being, because that is what actually just keeps your body going. Actually, is your mind, so it didn't keep you sharp. So, thank you again for the opportunity. And it's been fun. And with that, we can navigate to what today's topic is the Black. In the previous episode, we talked about Black men and their role in the household. This episode, we're going to talk about the Black men and their role in the community. And how that looks, and how that shapes the community as a whole, historically present, and in the future, and kind of reflected on that. Once again, you cannot talk about the present without talking about the past, and how that kind of played a role in it. I kind of want to start this conversation with the civil rights movement. I know that you're a civil rights baby. And how you talk about how you was in your mom's womb and whatnot, and that's how you became who you were. So we have figures like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, Marcus Garvey, all these people, black men in positions that led the community, that kind of set the foundation. I do want to talk about later how we may not have presently those type of leaders in the community, but I want to talk about those our civil rights movement and those men and how they set the foundation right now for us, and how that played an impact in the community, and how the black man played that role in our community and shaped it. So any thoughts and comments about that?
Yeah, so with that being said, and it's no disrespect to Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, or anyone that came before me. Mm-hmm. But what we have to be honest about is they weren't just stand-up guys. They were selected.
Yeah.
See, those movements, it was a moment in time that became a movement. Mm-hmm. And these individuals were selected by a group of their peers to say who would be the best person to be the face and to represent, so we can get the outcome that we need. They weren't the first.
Oh, no, definitely wasn't.
And not necessarily the last, but we'll get there. They weren't the first. But I applaud them. But it was a strategy that took place in the Black church primarily. That was a meeting space where they could gather together and no one would be in fear like, oh, there's 5 Black people together. What's about to happen?
Right.
Whatever. The church was a normal place for gathering and strategizing and stuff like that. So they could easily meet there and go through the process. Now, each one of those who were selected could have easily said, no, not me, but they didn't. They were like, okay, yes, I will take charge. They took that moment and a movement began. So, I'm thankful for all of them and what they have done. The part that discourages me, and it's not about them and the work, is that people put them in and idolize them as perfection. No, they were still men.
They're still good.
Like, oh, Martin Luther King, he smoked cigarettes and he had a girlfriend. Okay, what do they have to do with Let Freedom Ring? Like, okay, his personal life don't have nothing to do with this movement. Right. We trying to get equality and justice. Right. Who he had sex with along the way, I don't care.
I mean, because there's a lot of white men who have done a lot of things that...
Exactly. Let's not blur the lines.
Yes. Focus on what we're focusing on.
Exactly. Let's not blur the line.
Yes.
They're still men. They can do what that's between him and his wife and what's going on at their house. Yeah. We're talking about he was the one selected. He put his life on the line because he died for this work. So that was a courageous thing, to know that you can be killed, to know that you can die and still move on. I tell Trisha all the time, with the advocacy work and things, I know my role. I'm not going to jail, and I'm not willing to die for nothing.
Right.
I'm not willing to die for anything. For that little boy that I am raising, I can put my life on the line, but nothing else. So I think that historically, I appreciate everything that they did. However, I do believe that they failed, and not in the movement, but not selecting and training predecessors.
Yeah, yes.
So that's how we got where we are now. We didn't cultivate any leaders. So out of the Southern Christian Leadership Council, out of all of these movements, we did not continue to cultivate leaders. Out of that became a club, like a membership. Oh, you're going to pay your membership dues, and I'm a member of the NAACP, I'm a member of this, and I'm a member of that. But the true origin of how to fight and how to be involved in the community dissipated with each time that leadership role changed hands.
Yes.
And we got where we are now, just having a high-priced chicken dinner, and everybody comes and takes pictures, and we still struggling.
Yes.
In the community.
No, and I agree with that because I have conversations all the time. This is straying away, but I'll bring it back for a second. About how now people don't know how to advocate and how they don't know how to, go out and actually systematically, protest the right way and whatnot. And to your point, yeah, they did not train people the way they need to do it. It became more of like a glorified, power. Like I just want to be, I just want to have the power and the role and the title of these things, and not actively move forward with what the cause actually is. And I think that unfortunately, we know how MLK and Malcolm X, were assassinated and whatnot. So but continuing to raise Black boys to do these things and to lead the community and whatnot, because now what it looks like in present day is a lot of Black women are in the forefront. A lot of Black women are in the forefront of doing the things that Black men used to do back in the day. And then even to your point about like these people were selected, because Rosa Parks was also selected from a situation that happened for someone else.
She wasn't the first.
So these things. So when it comes to leading the community as Black men, the recipes have been lost in somewhere down the line and need to be brought back to the forefront. And it could be due to, once again, what happened in that era of like mass incarceration of Black men and whatnot. And I think the biggest thing that I could think of that were a collective of Black men that came together was a Million Man March. Was that the Million Man March?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. I was like in the 90s, in 1996, 95. Something like that. Now I'm testing my own Black history. And when they all came together, I mean, we haven't had anything like that happen since then, and from my knowledge, where Black men came together as collective. I mean, yes, there's fraternities. Yes, there's 100 Black men, the organization and whatnot. Yeah, we have the NAACP. But when it comes to like being out in the community and being active and things like that, we don't have. I couldn't name you anybody, a Black man in a position that is like, okay, let's as a collective whole, like let's do X, Y, Z. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, Barack Obama, but like he's the president. He was doing a job. And no, I mean, yes, he could be down for the Black culture, but also at the same time, he was elected to do a job, and he was doing his job. And sometimes some of the things that he did may not have necessarily been for the Black community. So when it comes to Black male leaders and what they do for the community and being out there, I feel like personally we're failing a little bit. And obviously we can grow and we can be more out there and whatnot. But yeah, I think we're failing just a little bit. But I think when it comes to community, it just doesn't mean activism. Also, it means like, being in schools and, being in elected officials, or being in nonprofits and things like that. I think it's a whole, once again, community-wise.
As a whole, we do not have pride in our communities anymore. There's a certain expectation, which is the bar is low for the Black community. You expect poverty, you expect blight, you expect crime, you expect low quality foods, you expect healthcare deserts. There's that's a Black community. Well, they not thriving over there.
Right.
They struggling, right. And this is an expectation. And that's where I said desegregation hurt us. But in that regard, it helped us, because it's like, you know what? I don't want to deal with that mentality that you got over there in that community. So I'm going to move somewhere else so that I can live in peace, that the kids ain't tearing up everything, it's not trash all over the place, and stuff like that. So I think that we need to bring two things. What worked for Malcolm X, Mark Clark, Huey Newton, what worked for them worked. And I don't think we need to recreate the wheel.
No, definitely no.
What I think was at the root of that was strategy, relationship.
Yes.
And what I said before, time and tone. Tone was different between Huey, Malcolm, and Martin.
Yes.
But they all picked a time. And the relationship that they had, even among each other, they knew their role. This is my lane, this is your lane, this is your lane. We all want equality. We are going to bring back things for the Black community. We are going to fight for liberation, equity, and stuff. But they did it differently, and it was okay.
And they had to do it differently. They had to show 3 different ways on how to do that, because the society was not going to let them do it one way.
Exactly.
It was not going to let
But we don't have that even now. If I could select, and I know some young people who I can put in each one of those lanes.
Yeah.
But the support internally and externally wouldn't be there for them.
Yeah. But that comes with the systematic thing. People need to systematically know what we're doing. I think now the mentality is that they think that these 3 categories and these 3 people are going against each other when they are working in cahoots with each other to get the same thing. Once again, it goes back to we cannot do one way of anything. We cannot. We have to have the 3 different ways, because the people in power are going to not listen if we have one way on how to do it. They're going to see all 3, and they're going to listen to all 3 different ways. They're going to listen to the one that's doing it peacefully. They're going to listen to the one that's kind of rebellious, but not too rebellious. And they're going to listen to the one who is completely rebellious. They're going to listen to all of it, and they're going to see all 3 of them. And I think that we do need to follow. You just need to go to which one that fits you and your personality. Because if you don't, then they're going to be arguing with each other, because everyone thinks, I agree with this person, and then what this person doing is wrong. It don't matter what this person is doing. Go follow the one that you support and go forward. And I think as Black men, I think that we need to collectively come together to be able to do that. And to even to begin those conversations and even step up into the role to do that. But I think that there was, once again, the recipes were lost somewhere about people not willing to, I don't want to say die for the cause, but people are not willing to die for the cause. And people feel like they have much to lose now, and they don't want to lose it. And we become a selfish group of people.
And there are some people who are willing to go to jail, and there are some people who are willing to die, and there are some people who are willing to do a lot, but we need to recognize who they are and come together with them. We need to stop being a hindrance. When I say we, older people my age, need to get out the way. We can pass the knowledge and wisdom of what we know worked and how we did it and move out of the way. Let the young people operate the way that they see fit. We get in the way, and then it discourages the younger people. And they're just like, you know what? And I say it this way. We won't change, but we won't change. And that's a problem. Sit down. And I try to be the type of leader that I want to empower the people that's on my team. I'm not trying to do it all.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to make some decisions, because at the end of the day, I got to take the fall. I'm responsible, and all of that. But I'm not trying to do what you do and be good at what you do, whatever it is. But we need to move out the way. We're in the way, and Black men need to move out of the way of the Black women. You know what we can do and how we do it best. Let us do that. You know, and men can be better at certain things. Let them do that. So with these lanes, duties, responsibilities, whatever we want to label them as, get in where you fit in.
Yes.
And let's work.
And work together.
Yeah.
Because we're all fighting for the same cause.
Exactly.
How we get there could look different.
It's just too much backbiting. And when we talk about community, let's stop the division. You're not from Ipsy, so don't come and do nothing in Ipsy. You're not from Inkster, so don't come to Inkster. Look, if y'all had all the answers, the community wouldn't still be a mess.
Fair.
Last time I checked, poor is poor.
Yes.
Marginalized is marginalized.
Yes.
Blight is blight.
Yep.
So why do you have to be so, don't come over here with that? I could have a solution. We could have a blueprint. If I take what I know from my community and come to your community and sit down and we have a discussion, we may be able to come up with some type of plan that will work for all of us. And then we can move from city to city and make change. But we can't do that if you're territorial. Let's not treat community work like the dope game. It's my block, don't stand on it. You know, and it's like, hold on.
Yeah.
I can go where I want to go.
Yeah, and help whom I want to help.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, we're all still one community. We're still the Black community, regardless of where your actual neighborhood is. Community is not an area. I feel like when it comes to this.
No, it's not.
We
have communities within communities.
Yeah, I think, and then also I think that in order to lead, you must follow. The same way. So in order for you to even start to step up to start a movement and whatnot, you have to be willing to follow, willing to listen to what other people are doing in order to get the best outcome. Because how do you know what needs to be fixed if you're not listening? How do you know how to lead somebody if you did not follow the direction of someone who has done it in the past or who has previously done it? How do you know how to do that if you're not willing to do those things?
Well, you're not really leading anyway if you are intimidated by someone who is following you for sake of this conversation. If you're intimidated that they're going to be in your position or take your position, you're not a leader. No, because I want somebody to be better than me.
Yes.
I've had a lot of individuals flow through this agency in my 30 years, and some of them have reached higher heights. That's great. I'm not going to try to put my foot on your neck and keep you from doing the best that you can and passing me. Why wouldn't I want you to pass me? Why wouldn't I want you to be better than I am? I should want that. And for my community.
Right.
And that's what gets in the way. The jealousy, the hatred, and it's not my idea, so it's not a good idea. It could be the best damn idea in the world. But if the wrong person brought it up, they're not going to back it.
Right.
We need to take out the who. Even when we're doing elections or whatever, it doesn't matter who is, what needs to be done and what are the qualifications to get it done.
Right.
We'll put somebody in position and then try to build around them. No, we need to figure out what it is we need, how we need to get there, and what resources we have, and then put a person in place that can carry this out. Who's the best person to do it? That's what we talked about with the civil rights movement. Martin was the best person to do it.
Yes.
Rosa was the best person to do it. But they knew what they wanted, what outcome they wanted, and a strategy to get there. They knew the bus boycott would paralyze. They knew that people needed to carpool. They knew that people were going to need to walk. They did it for a whole year. Here we talk about, don't go to Target on Friday. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to go on Thursday and buy all of your supplies, or wait till Saturday and go buy all of your supplies? What in the world was one day going to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't go to Target anymore.
Yeah.
And they would feel an impact. So we're trying to take little snippets of what was done in the civil rights movement and what worked. You know, the boycott worked, But they didn't do it for one day.
Yeah, they did.
It was a whole year.
Yeah.
So we got to do better.
Yeah.
Don't take a page out of the book. Take the whole damn book.
Yes. And then it's also like, and then, I mean, where do we even gather or find people that want to do it? Like, where do we even say, oh, that you are going to be the person? Because I feel like the church is not the place anymore.
No, and you're right.
Like, where do we even go? Because, you can't do, I mean, but the NAACP is just a small portion of the voice. And then that is a membership thing. And not how many people are actually members of
And
the
then more
NAACP.
about voting. Make sure you vote. I haven't seen any widespread advocacy out of any other areas. And the other thing about it is a lot of pulpits are for sale.
I can see that.
And as a result of that, they don't stand strong. It's like, oh, not going to lose my 501c3. Nope, not going to do this. When the 501c3 status came to the church, it messed us up.
Mm-hmm.
Because now all lives matter and everything's matter until it's a check involved. And not with all churches, because I know some pastors who built up. Pastor Kinlock in Detroit, his pulpit is not for sale.
Right.
He built that stuff up, and he has 4 or 5 locations now for his church, bringing in Kirk Franklin. People are like, oh, that's this and that. Now, he got it out the mud.
Right.
And he still never sold his pulpit out, and he gives back to the people.
Yeah.
But a lot of churches and institutions, all lives matter until a check is involved.
Mm-hmm.
And if a check is involved, then I'm going to start thinking about how I move or who I let move and what I say. So you're absolutely right. And the other part about that is nobody respect the church no more.
They don't.
Like that. So what you going to call your pastor? And they don't respect it. They're not going to do anything. I'm not scared of that.
Yeah.
So, call them, and tell them, like, they're just going to look out the window and like, look at them out there, because it doesn't have the power that it used to have. Now, there are some that do, but I'm speaking as a collective when we're comparing what we do now to what used to be. Mm-hmm. It is not the same. We have a few pastors here and there, Dr. Duckworth, like I said, Kinlock, pastors that will stand up. They're not selling themselves out. They're not selling their pulpit out. I'm doing the work of the Lord, and that's it. I'm not going to be manipulated by anything else that's going on.
Right.
But we don't have enough of that.
Yeah, we don't.
And, it comes from when we were talking about those lanes. So it's like, all right, I was in the church. I came up with an idea. You didn't want me to, you micromanaged me. You never put me in a leadership role. You ordained me as a pastor, but I never got up to preach. You know what? The hell with this. I'm going to start my own church. So now you got a little church around the corner on the storefront. I think it should just be some rules and ordinances. We don't need 25 churches in a 4 square mile area.
Yes. But
it comes from breakups, or it comes from someone wanting to do something a certain way and someone else was against it. So I'll just start my own.
Right.
And nothing's wrong with that. But the problem is that's where the division is, and that divide takes over our voting structure. Things that matter to our community that we have to vote on, it's fragmented. Mm-hmm. Because you have all of these different entities and people deciding what they want to do, and we need to get in one room and just say, look, who's the best person to run for the city of Detroit? It's almost laughable, and that's where I live. It was probably like 10 people's name on there for mayor. Some of them are not capable. Like, I would never vote for this person. Matter of fact, who are you? I don't even know nothing about you in this community. But that's what we do. We separate and we become fragmented. We won't agree to disagree and get behind one thing for the good of the community. Yeah. And that's a problem.
Yeah. And then I feel like picking the best person, not just because, they're popular or because they're black. No, I mean, you need to pick the person who will actually do the work. And get out there and then make the impact and make the influence and make the change that we need. Because now it feels like everything is a big popularity contest, and let's pick the most popular person to do it and whatnot. Because I think once again, social media, I think popularity equals influence in the social media world. And that's great for social media, but out in the real world, like, okay, what actual influence do you have beyond, just getting the numbers and getting people aware on social media? Because we need people to actually act and
engage,
do things.
take action.
So just shifting gears a little bit, so just kind of unpacking some of the stereotypes that kind of prevent black men from being leaders in the community. So like the threat that they are to society, being dangerous or aggressive, instead of those leaders and nurturers, something that we kind of always talk about. Barriers to engage, their trauma, they're always being hyper surveillanced and monitored and controlled. And then the impact of the broken trust. So, government officials and institutions, failing black men as a whole, and in the distrust in like the healthcare system and whatnot. So what other things do you think kind of prevents black men from, getting out and being in the community and leading the community?
Well, I think we need a mixture of leaders. A lot of our leaders are people who've made some big mistakes in their lives. And they feel like, okay, I've been to jail, I've paid my dues, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to try to stop this from happening in the community. But your reputation and the respect is kind of diminished with that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, yeah, we all learn from our mistakes. And I'm not saying that those type of men are not needed. But we need more than that, because I'm not sure if me putting, let's just say, a bank robber or something. So I robbed a bank. I did my time, but now I'm going to come back in the community and I'm going to make sure these kids don't rob a bank. Mm-hmm. Well, the kids looking like you was just stupid. You ain't do it the right way.
Right.
Like, we have a better way to rob the bank and we're not going to get caught. You got caught.
Yeah.
That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is there are people out here who have not done that, who could still come back and be a role model to these kids, but they don't want to come back to the community because of what I said before. Like, I made it out. I don't care about this. Let them figure it out. If I made it out, they can make it out.
Yeah.
So you got that kind too. So we need a mixture of that. We need people with lived experience to come and say, hey, jail is not what you want.
Yes.
You need to do something different. Take the path of this guy, because this guy never went to jail and he has a good life for himself. The problem is the guy that never went to jail and college and made a good life for himself, in some cases looks down on the guy who was the inmate before.
Correct.
Or the inmate feels inferior to the guy who was successful and feels like they think they bougie or they think they this and that. So that's the problem right there.
Yeah.
The people who should be giving back can't even get along good enough to give back.
Yeah. And that's because of ego and pride, letting it go and thinking that, like, once again, you may be better than somebody or somebody is better than you. It's like standing in who you are and in your experience.
And none of that is the case.
None of it's the case.
From a kid's perspective.
Because, I think experience, to your point, experience is the best teacher. So regardless of what your experience was, I think it helps. Because one is going to tell younger generations or anybody in general, then not to do something. The other one is saying this is the alternative to if you don't do what they did. But it's like working together. And then that goes back to a previous conversation about building relationships. Those two needs to have the relationship in order to even come together to even tell somebody about the experiences. Because if they don't know each other, if they don't know the experience, then it may not work to, tell people, to share those experiences with other people, to tell them how to, to influence other people. That's what I was looking for, to influence other people in that sense. I mean, even if they don't know each other, they should be able to still work together to do that.
So here's the thing, though. When I was young, a lot of people would try to tell me, don't do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I'm thinking, you don't know what you're talking about. Because when you're young, you think you can figure it out yourself, and you know.
And you think that you know everything. Yeah.
So it's nothing they're going to be able to come back and tell these kids anyway.
Yeah.
It's their environment that needs to change within their households and how they grew up and stuff like that. So I think the blueprint really is the guy that robbed the bank. What were you missing? Or the guy that did a B&E. What were you missing? What made you even do that? Mm-hmm. Because in a lot of cases of our men incarceration, we have some wrongfully convicted guys. I'm not taking anything away from that.
True.
But some of them are guilty as charged.
Yes.
And it wasn't, I'm sure somebody probably told you, don't do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but you still did it.
Yeah.
So that's what we got to get to. What can be said or done so the kids can even believe what you're saying?
And it's funny because I just watched an Instagram video of someone who was in prison. It was a clip of something larger than that, but he said I think he's in prison for like some ridiculous amount of time. Well, he said that his community failed him. He said that he wished that he would have had a better community or something on the lines of that. And then he wouldn't have been in the situation he was, because it's like, what would you? Because I think the person asked him, what would you have done differently? He was like, I just wish I had better adults in my life, or something. He said on those lines.
More than just community, because the house, if people just stop having kids until you get your shit together.
Well, that's true.
Because that's the real root.
That's true.
A lot of kids were not born because the mother and father were ready to be parents.
Yes.
We got in the bed before we got in each other's head. Now we got this baby. I don't believe in abortion, so I'm going to have a baby. The guy was like, well, I ain't going to be bothered with you then.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So, that's a scenario. Or the couple had the baby, they stayed together, but they babies themselves, and they don't know what to do with a kid. Mm-hmm. So they don't even know how to instill good morals and values within a child.
Yeah.
So, there are so many factors that contribute to the demise of the community. Mm-hmm. But when I look back, we had a village in the community. Everybody wasn't rich, and people struggled and worked 2 jobs, but I respected my neighbor. I'm not going to just do anything in front of her because I respected her, and she had enough authority in my life where I respected her. Yeah. And I would do what she said do. So if we did any wrong, we would have to really sneak and do wrong. You ain't going to do it on a block in front of nobody's block. In front of no adult, we respected them.
Right.
That has diminished with people saying, don't say nothing to my kids. So the sense of community where we talked about it, even if we had ideal households, mm-hmm. right? Because we know we have a lot of generational trauma, intergenerational trauma and stuff like that. But these days, the kids don't respect the adults in the community for a lot of reasons. Some of them been molesters, some of them been bank robbers, some of them been drug dealers or whatever. So they hard pressed to find somebody that's even respectable.
Yes.
To listen to.
No.
So we have a lot that we need to fix within the community. We have some community centers and people are really giving back and trying. Mm-hmm. We go to Inkster and we have a program once a week that Tyler and Candace does with the kids. And those families, they're really trying. They're just resource strapped.
Yeah.
So it's almost like each family situation needs their own individualized, personalized plan on how to break the generational trauma, how we're going to get ourselves out of this situation. Mm-hmm. What do we even want for our lives? Because they're in survival mode. A lot of the Black communities are in survival mode.
Yeah, we talked about that survival mode.
Yeah, they're in survival mode. So if I'm in survival mode, I don't have time to really properly plan.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to survive.
Yep. Every day, every single day you just wake up, you're trying to figure out what's the next, how you're going to pay this bill, or how you're going to get food on the table, how you're going to get to work, how you're going to do this, that, and the third. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of things that are happening. Yeah, and the community does need to be fixed. And I mean, the black men should be able to, find ways to help build it up in some fashion. But it starts, like you said, it starts small. It starts in the household and setting the foundation and the examples to spread out to the community, for the community to even get better. And then focusing on, this is a great segue, I guess, reclaiming and defining the role of the black men in the community. Like finding what's needed in the community and showing up. And I think that's what we lack of representation. I think that there's a lot of representation of black women in the community and whatnot. A lot of children, adolescents can look up to black women because they see them doing the things that they need to be doing in the community. But when it comes to black men, we lack. And I get it, work and whatnot, but we all have the same 24 hours. You can spare some time to get out in the community and do the things that can be impactful and that can help change it. Like I mentioned, fraternities are out here. Fraternities do things to a certain extent. Then there's black men that work in nonprofits that do things, that do impactful work and whatnot. But I think need more, in a sense, and then coming together, as you mentioned, in those lanes, in those 3 areas, and focusing, pinpointing, like, okay, we need, maybe it's these 3 areas, like, we need somebody that focus on education. We need somebody to focus on healthcare. We need somebody to focus on, law reform, legal. Oh my gosh, now I'm getting tongue-tied. Well, all the legal things, in the community and whatnot. Maybe it's something like that that can help, set the foundation.
Because
all those things,
with all of those segments.
Because all those things we need them. We need them to help grow and fix the community and whatnot. And then I know that there's some threats to our community because they want our communities to be broken. They want them to look the way that they look, which is why they don't help them, which is why I guess Flint still doesn't have clean water. Why they don't have clean water, still don't have clean water.
Yeah.
Or why some of the roads in places are not fixed, especially like it snows. And then these roads need to be fixed. They need to be paved properly and things like that. Why we have food deserts and whatnot, because they don't want us to have those things. They want they want our health to be, the way it is, because we are a threat to them, to their livelihood. When we all come together, it's a threat. We didn't do anything but live and want to live separately or whatever. We just want to live our lives peacefully
and leave us alone.
But they find it as a threat, and they want to destroy it, and they're going to continue to have it the way it is.
Thinking historically with Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and let's just look at the Black Panthers. Mm-hmm. They all wanted freedom and liberation and stuff. Did. One was nonviolent, and the other 2 was by any means necessary. Mm-hmm. But I never saw them work together. They had their own movements. And I could be wrong, but I never saw where Martin Luther King was somewhere speaking, so the Black Panthers secured the perimeter and wasn't letting them. I never saw that.
And you only saw it, and then if you did see Malcolm and Martin together, it was like a picture.
Yeah.
And who knows what they were.
They didn't work together. So I think, and it was probably because of the philosophies. One didn't want to be associated with another for whatever the reason, but they did not work together. And I think it would have been a really, really good thing if they could have, like I said, let the Nation of Islam secure the perimeter when Martin is coming through on the bridge walk. Even when we looked at some of the marches and stuff, they could have been sprinkled in there, but I ain't see them leading up front with their rifles. I didn't see that. And I think that slavery did that too, separating the mentality of separation.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's probably the reason why. And we still don't even know how to come together and use what I'm good at and what I'm powerful at, or what I have the resources to do. Let me do that. But we can all come together. We still do it separately.
Always. I think that truth be told, we are a broken community. We and I mentioned earlier, like, we're just selfish. In a sense, it's like, what do I gain from this? Me. Now, once again, I think that Black women are a little bit more collectively together now, a little bit more than Black men. I think,
but it's hell to play working with us too. Ooh.
Yeah, sure.
It is.
But I think when Black women when they say they're going to do something as a collective whole, y'all come together to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If something affect one person,
I can agree with that.
And then y'all are like, oh no, we're not doing this. We're cutting. We're done. As a collective whole, I think Black men, to get us to do it together, we may entertain it for a little while, then go our separate ways. I think it's only. Once again, I could be misquoting myself. It could just be me in my own small little bubble or whatever. I think, but every time I see a group of Black men together, it's always something with like apparel, like they're wearing some suits or something. It's like, what's the purpose of this? There's nothing really behind it. It's just like, oh yeah, we're here, we're present. I'm like, okay, you're wearing a suit. We all have suits. We can do that. But it's nothing that is a strong movement that pushes the community forward in a sense. But once again, that's just my small bubble and what I've seen recently.
Well, we come together, like I said, we turn moments into movements, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
However, within that, we have come together because we both want to solve an issue and get a certain outcome for a situation. Nobody is assessed on how they handle conflict. So we just come together. We built this relationship off of this momentum we're going to build for this movement. And nobody's really talked about who's doing what, who's going to handle conflict. Are you going to jail? Are you scared to go to jail? Do you avoid conflict, or will you take it head on? Because all of those things are important. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes we need to fall back. We might put somebody in a position that's a bulldog when we need to fall back.
Right.
So we need to assess all of these things in order to be strategic.
I agree.
And know what's going on. We don't. We're so busy taking the lead. We're so damaged. There's a few of us who have the wherewithal to do it, but we suffer from burnout. Like, I'm tired of y'all.
Yep.
Now, I've been trying to help you, and it's just not working. I'll be the first to admit, I am not good with people who are in pre-contemplation stages of anything for extended periods of time.
Fair enough.
Because to me, ready is not like an action thing, it's a decision.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna wait till I'm ready. What does that even mean?
Because you can never be ready.
Because ready is a decision. It ain't got nothing to do with I'm, getting in shape or whatever. It is a decision.
Yeah.
And we have to decide when we're going to move forward, who's going to do it, how we're going to do it, when we're going to do it. And then when those conversations start to take place is when we fall out.
Yeah.
So we were good with they shot Trayvon Martin. Or whatever, we're going to take the streets. That could have been my son, blah, blah, blah. And that might not have been the most ideal example, but things are then fizzle out.
Yep. Like always.
From there.
Yeah.
And it's just sad. Or we do too much and then we don't have the backing for it.
Yeah.
And I experienced that a lot. In community environments where, we can do this and we can do that. And we're all in the meeting. Yeah. But then when it's time to do it, I'm like by myself. Nobody else is there.
Yep.
So we need to be honest. What is it that we need in our communities? Who can do it? And we're never going to all come together. Our communities will never be perfect. But the few of us who have like morals and values, that's what drive your action. I don't care if your idea is the same as mine. I don't care if the goal is the same as mine. I don't care if you've been harmed the same way that I have. What are your morals and what do you value?
Yes.
Because if you don't value the same thing that I value, we're going to fall out.
Yes.
And this is going to fizzle.
Yes.
We're not going to get anywhere. And I don't think we dig deep enough. It's just like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Cool. I mean, nobody really wants to build from the ground up. A lot of people want to get on the train once it's left the station, and all of that. But if we value the same thing, that's what drives our actions.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what we need in our community. We got to value. We have to love and we have to respect. We don't have enough of that. It's gone. Every time Big Mama, like you said before, like, oh, I'm actually the parent now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I look at it. Like, oh, I'm actually it. My mother is still alive. Once my mother is gone, I'm it. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, all of them, they're dead already.
Right.
And I'm it. And I'm in a place I do give back and help a lot of people, but not by any means necessary. Like my grandma, it's all right, baby. Just come. It's not all right with me.
Right.
So some of these morals and values and things have changed. Forgiveness don't even look the same. Grace don't even look the same.
That's true.
Because if you do something to me, I don't want to be bothered with you anymore.
Right.
It's not like I'm going to be like, oh, that's okay. Still grandma. But I'm not trying to do that. So we have lost some of that grace and stuff along the way too.
Yeah.
We don't allow what grandma used to allow.
Yeah.
We have opinions. We can make decisions. We can say what we want to say.
Yeah, and I mean, just to wrap up the conversation, I think everything that we talked about today is definitely what needs to happen to move forward. I think there needs to be, individual conversations. I think people just need to know like what the community actually needs in order for us to move forward and how to actually step up and where they need to step up and knowing those talents that you mentioned and knowing their strengths and showing up there. Because I think that even in the macro of things, we don't have to start with the macro. We can start with the micro. You can start in small places. If you are if you like to do things in the rec center in your community, start there, and then try to get kids off the streets and stuff and get into doing rec sports or whatever. If you are like an educator and you want to do stuff in schools, start with the schools and advocate for schools and supplies and support there and whatnot. I think it's just a starting point, and then you don't have to get ready. You can just be ready. Because I think that everyone, when it comes to the term ready, I think people just want the skills, the knowledge and stuff. It's like, but you can gain all that stuff while you're doing it. And then, there you go. I mean, you started, and then now you just continue the momentum. And then once you do it, then you get buy-in from other people to start doing the same thing. Everybody's not going to step up to be a leader. Mm-hmm. Some people are fine and willing to follow, but you as an individual, if you want to lead, then you find a space where you want to lead at, and then I think that's how that happens in a sense.
I agree. And as we wrap, I guess what I would say is it starts within the home. The community can't wrap around anyone more than the parents within the home.
Yeah.
And even if you're outside of the home, you still can be involved.
Yeah, of course.
You can do what's best. And men, if you need help, women, if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for help or for resources. Push that pride to the side. You're bringing a child up, and if you want them to be better than what you are, better than the situation that's at hand, then it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
It is okay not to be okay, but you got to realize you're not okay, and what you're doing is not okay.
No.
And then we'll move from that. So once you realize it's okay not to be okay, then you can ask for help and work on the things that you want to change.
Yeah.
And that motto can go from parenting, a relationship, to the community. It's okay not to be okay, but what do we want to change?
Yeah.
What do we have the resources and the wherewithal to change right now? Because it could be this big, grandiose scheme of things that need to be changed, but what can we change right now? What do we have the money, the resources, the manpower, and the capacity to work on right now? That's where we start.
Yeah, I agree. And then from there, it just spirals
we
out.
will continue to grow.
Yep.
So, well, thank you.
No, thank you.
This is our last episode. It has been a wonderful series. I truly appreciate all that you have lended to the Black Man Heal series. And if you have not seen the film Black Man Heal, Say How You Feel, Brother, it's on YouTube. You can just go right there, look it up, watch it. Then you will be able to go to the SOAR website, www.soar-nonprofit.org, and you will be able to download the workbook. We just want as many people as possible to start on this healing journey, this journey of self-exploration, to figure out who you are, what you need to change, and then get started on it one step at a time. So with that being said, we are done. I wish you well.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we will come back again for a circle in this space.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fun opportunity. Once again, like you said, like you mentioned, the workbook is great to start your journey and start the conversation of mental health. So, thank you for the opportunity.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode, brought to you by SOAR. Don't forget to visit our website at soar-nonprofit.org to download the Black Man Heals Workbook, a resource designed to help you dive deeper into your mental health journey with thoughtful prompts and exercises. Embrace the power of vulnerability and keep striving to be the best version of yourself each day. Be sure to join us on our next episode, and until then, take care and stay at peace.